Good morning, everyone. This is Tom Nolan with Happy Trails Farm. And today's message is going to be a good one, so hang on tight. Let's go for a ride. The title is, What If Stephen Hawking Never Lived? What I'd like to go over is what God did for Stephen Hawking. Now, Stephen Hawking was born to Frank and Isabel Hawking, and he was born in 1942 in Oxford, England. Now, at the age of 21, he learned that he had ALS syndrome, or Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was actually only given a couple of years to live. And at that time, he was working on getting his degree. He was working on that very hard, and because of it, he dug himself in even deeper and really focused on getting as much as he can get done in the time that he had, instead of getting all depressed and throwing himself away. He made himself do the best that he can do and hope that he could muster through. Now, he married Jane Hawkins in 1965. And they were married for 25 years. Now, during that time, they had 3 children. And as the children were growing up, his disease was getting steadily and steadily worse. He could no longer speak. He developed pneumonia, and they had to give him a tracheotomy, which further eroded his speech. And he started using a talking machine that you've heard so very frequently, is how he spoke to people. He was also a very big advocate for disability rights, and he wrote 15 books, 55 papers, and one of his books was on the bestseller for 3 years. It's called A Brief History of Time. Now, he actually lived a lot longer than just a couple of years, like the doctors predicted. A lot of people say that was due to his tenacity and his personality, where he just never gave up, never quit. Now, my question for you is, was this through his will or through God's grace? Now, one of the things that not a lot of people know is that he was an atheist, but his wife Jane was a devout Christian. So, because of that, they were living under God's grace because of her. So God was blessing them through him, and her blessings washed over to him. Now, here is a passage in the Bible that goes along with exactly what I was saying, and where I'm getting this information from is 1 Corinthians 7, 12 through 14. But to the rest, I, not the Lord, say, if any brother has a wife who does not believe, and she is willing to live with him, let him not divorce her. And a woman who has a husband who does not believe, if he is willing to live with her, let her not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified, or made holy, by the wife. The unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean, but now they are holy. So, what this passage is saying is that just because your husband or wife is not a believer doesn't mean that they may believe down the road. That it goes on to state, for how do you know, O wife, whether you will save your husband, or how do you know, O husband, whether you will save your wife? So over all those years, him being covered under God's grace through her and her devout worship through the Lord, Stephen Hawking was able to do great and wonderful things, even though he didn't believe in the Lord. Now, the Lord's mercy is so great that it covers everyone, not just believers. People who don't believe also are covered under his mercy and are blessed every day. Now, a lot of things that he was able to accomplish, like he did great things on quantum physics and black holes and general relativity, were a lot of his fields, he was able to do after he was very severely disabled. So you cannot let your disability guide you. You need to let the Lord guide you and have the Lord give you the strength that you need to continue through those crises. You gain strength through trials and tribulations. But it says, I will never give you more than you can bear. Some of the great accomplishments that he was able to do was he visited with several of the popes. Francis and Benedict were of several that he visited with, and various other religious leaders. And he even flew on the Virgin Galactic, one of the first flights, and he believed in space flight and colonization of other planets. But one of the things that he did say, we should not seek out alien life because they might try and conquer us and steal our resources. But a lot of the times that he had with his wife were not always the best. They struggled a lot with his fame and his notoriety and his disbelief in the Lord. And after 25 years of marriage, theirs fell apart. And she found somebody else, and he found somebody else. But his new relationship with his nurse, Elaine Mason, actually helped destroy his family. So in 2006, he divorced her, and then they were able to reunite the family, his 3 kids, and his wife, and they reconciled. She was still married to another person, but they were able to reconcile and make amends for a lot of things that went wrong during the second marriage. Now, Stephen Hawking lived to a ripe old age of 76 years. Now, how could this happen except through God's grace? This is one of the things that really amazed me when I started doing some research on this, that Jane was the source of his strength through God. Because without Jane, probably none of this would have happened, because he didn't have God's grace without her. The fact that she was so strong in the Lord gave him numerous blessings that he didn't appreciate or seemed concerned about. But this is how other people can be blessed through you. Now, to note, he had ALS for 55 years, which is extremely rare. Most people only live a couple years after developing it. When he died, he was buried at Westminster Abbey, and he was given a religious burial. Now, I don't think that was by his choice, because he was a devout atheist all the way to his death. And but you know, there was a lot of healing that was done through him, that the church and everything would recognize the great things that he did and choose to bury him at Westminster Abbey. That was place for kings and queens and high-ranking dignitaries, not just common people. He was born in 1942 during the time of the war, and his parents were not of any wealth. They were just regular people struggling to survive during the wartime. But they did believe in education, and they were very devoted to reading and bettering themselves. So there's a lot that can be done when you put your mind to it. A lot of times we don't give ourselves a chance. We just say, oh, I can't do that. There's no way. A lot of times we're just quitting before we even start. And that's not doing the Lord's work. When things get hard, we give up. We got to really go to the Lord when things like that happen and focus on prayer more and ask the Lord for His strength to get us through those times. The thing that you got to remember is the Lord is always closest when you are in trouble. That is when He is nearby and the easiest to reach Him. He says, come to me when you are in sorrow. But He'd like us to come to Him when we're not also. We're supposed to be constantly praying, always in fellowship with the Lord. Thank you, folks, for listening to this wonderful video, and please like and share. What that does is sends the word out to more people, and YouTube will help promote us and spreading the word out even faster. We're having trouble reaching the people that need this, and we need your help. Thank you, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day.